Let's see, so there are 9 participants already. We're going to start in a minute. And what I'd like from you is to have your microphones off. In general, if there are more people coming, it might get quite noisy. So, yeah, because we're expecting more people. It's going to be a microphone off session, but we'll find ways to make it interactive anyways. Okay, another question. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Great. That was after I asked you to mute your microphones. Yeah, so I'll be asking plenty of questions, I think, during the session. So if you can find, I mean, I know that TwinkleStar students are quite used to using the chat box, and I'll ask you to use the chat box as often as possible and write your opinions, ideas, and everything there in the chat. There will be moments when you'll be able to write on my screen, and also if we have time, some speaking stuff, some speaking activities in the breakout rooms. Okay. So we're gonna officially start. Hi everybody, my name's Alexandra Butnaru, and I'm a teacher with TwinkleStar and a teacher coordinator. And today we're going to discuss, I know that you're B2 exam, B2 first candidates, so we're going to discuss some things about the exam. Let me show you the plan we have for today. So we're going to revise all exam parts. Some of you might know them well, some of you might not, which is fine. You will after this. You're going to understand how each part is marked, which again, maybe it's something that your teacher explained to you, but maybe not. But you'll find it quite interesting if you don't know everything already. We're going to do some exam tasks, like exam type tasks. And at the end, if you have more questions, I hope we'll have time for a Q&A bit. So if you have any questions while I'm talking, you can write them in the chat box, or you can write them down somewhere and just ask them at the end. If we don't have time for the Q&A session, we'll see how we manage the time, then you can still write them in the chat and I'll send you an email with the answers to your questions, or maybe point you to websites or places where you can get that information from. Okay, good. So, way more people than 3 minutes ago. Welcome everybody. So, let's get started. Like I was saying, I would like you to use the chat quite a lot. So the first question is, what's left? Basically, I'd like you to take a few seconds, look at the left of your device, and just write in the chat, what item do you have there? So what's the closest thing? Oh, great, I should open the chat then. Oh, so what's the closest thing you have on your left? In my case, it's a window. Yeah, just like Sebi said. Yeah, I have a window because it's quite dark today. Okay. Useful stuff there, right? Take a look at what your session mates are writing. Plenty of water. Water is good. I forgot where I put mine, but anyway. So take a look at the list there. So we have notebooks, bedside table. Is there anything you'd like to have rather than what you already have? You'll have time to draw on the screen too. Oh, Alex is happy with the TV. If I remember correctly, Alex, you had a TV. Yeah, so I suppose you wouldn't replace you wouldn't replace your daughter with another item if you could. Sorry for calling her item. No? Nothing else looking appealing. Well, no one said ice cream or pizza. Yeah, thank you for your funny input. Juliana, would you swap a friend for maybe a glass of water or a cool window? Or a glass door? Because I think in my case, it's a glass door, not a proper window. Okay, nice to know that you're comfy, and thanks for the input. I like the pillow. I think I'd like to have a pillow instead of a window, but I've got work to do. Coffee is good too. Yeah, so in my case, it's a bit different. I would trade the glass door, for something else. Yeah, so this is an icebreaker just to help me relax, because I'm working with new people, and to help you relax at the same time. Cool. Now, this could be going back to the first certificate exam. It could be in the speaking part that you have to discuss several items, and you have to discuss which one is better than the others, or what are the advantages and disadvantages. So you could talk about, we could choose 5 items, as in coffee, cigarettes, a friend, a pillow, and a TV, and what are the advantages and disadvantages of holding those things or having those things or people next to you. But not now. But anyway, it could be easily transformed into a first certificate task. Okay, now, next part. What I'd like you to tell me is that if any of you have taken another Cambridge exam before the B2, if you've taken, I don't know, YL exam, as in starters, movers, flyers, or key, cat, pet, preliminary, do you have, someone took all the exams. In this case, first certificate might seem like a piece of cake, because in general, it's much easier if your first Cambridge exam is not a really challenging one. But at the same time, if you're well prepared, it's fine. Like the first Cambridge exam I did was a C2. So, because I didn't get to attend Twinkle Star or Cambridge Star classes. So, yeah. But it is useful, yeah. And my next question is, why are you taking the B2 exam? Why did you register for this? You can be as honest as you want, but you can also think about other reasons, like what are the benefits of taking the exam? In the meantime, I'm going to clear the artwork on my slide. So why do you think it's a good idea to take the exam? Or why did you register to take it? Why are you a B2 candidate? It's okay, Mario. You don't have to if you don't want to. Useful how? It's a good point. So it could be useful at some point. How?
I suppose it can help with passing some exams, or as a certificate for studying how do you call it, over the sea.
It's a good point. So when I did my exam was to prove my competence in English abroad, as in people didn't know me, so they needed a certificate to check my level. Yeah, thanks for what you've written. What you've written in the box. For example, my brother did the B2 exam, and it was an achievement for him too last year. Even if he's probably older than you, it's still useful, as he would like to work as an engineer abroad when possible. So yeah. Cool challenge, Joanna, passing all exams. Okay, in this case, I wanted to show you a video, but we're gonna move to more useful stuff. Okay, so it's a video about how you're right with all those reasons. Like, it's a good age sometimes if you're still in school. It's useful for your CV or portfolio as a student. It does have some academic skills inside it. It's not just English. For example, writing a well-organized essay or supporting an argument. Those are academic skills, and universities are interested in you having those skills before you apply or before you enroll to their courses. Yeah, so I think it will be useful, and you're going to see, and you don't have to stop there. There, as you can see, there's the C1 Advanced, and I think it was last year when our first Twinkle Star students did the C2 proficiency exam, and they all passed. It's not easy, but it's a cool achievement. But many people don't even reach a B2 level because they struggle with learning English. So B2 is an achievement in itself too. Okay, cool. Skipping the video, and next. I'm happy it's working. Can you? Okay, no worries. I'm going to mute your microphone just so I'm helping you with something. Okay, in this case, let's do a quiz together. Do you know what FCE stands for? Well, that's kind of the old name of the test until I think they changed it last year or quite recently. So it's called B2 first. But we still call it FCE, and you can still see FCE on many materials. So what does FCE stand for? I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm going to show you some questions. So we're going to do a quiz together. What would really help me in ticking the right box, because I can't give all of you remote control, is writing in the chat the correct answer, and I'll tick the right box, or the one you suggested. So in a moment. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Excellent. So let's get started. And it's easier if you write your answers in the chat, so everybody gets to answer the question. So what does FCE stand for? Well done. Well done. Let's see how many points you get. Okay. In terms of exam general knowledge, how many parts are there in the exam? I'm going to click 3. Anyone disagrees, maybe? Other ideas? Okay, let's see if you're right. Oh no, it's 5. And it's true that, for example, 2 parts are in the same paper. For example, no, I'm not going to tell you, there might be a question on this, but yeah, 5 parts. Next question. So it's not 3, it's not 6, but not a problem. Let's see. Does FCE measure your ability to use English at work or in academic situations? What we were talking about going to uni? Clicking on true like you suggested, and you're right. Next question. Let's see, remember, we agreed on, the quiz said there are 5 parts. What are those 5 parts? You can just write the first letter of the word. I think you won't have time, or yeah, the first, the second, the third, the fourth, yeah. Okay. Nicely done. Next. How long is the speaking? Well done. I can tell you've been practicing. Yeah, so it's 14 minutes. It might be slightly longer in case there are 3 candidates, not 2, but it's the same amount of time for each speaker. Okay. Which one is not in the writing, in the second part of the writing paper? Clicking on your suggestions. Apparently it's an invitation. You can check that. You can double check that. But you do have to write an email. I mean, or you can choose to write an email if you like the topic. But very often you don't get invitations. Those are more frequent in the key exam and preliminary, because it's easy. Okay, which one is not in the listening task? Listening to short extracts, conversations, listening about a science topic, or multiple speakers. So only one is not. Various options. I see 1 and 3. If you don't mind, just because I know the right answer, I'm going to click and we get better score. Well done. Okay, yeah, so you don't listen about a science topic. It's not that specific. In the use of English section, let's see, do you have word transformations, verb subject matching, or choosing the right grammar tense? Again, you can say 1, 2, or 3. So in this case, it is in the use of English part. Yeah, well done. I mean, there isn't a very strong emphasis on grammar, so you'll never have to choose the right tense in that kind of way, like in a standard school test, in a Cambridge exam. So yeah, well done. You do have word or sentence transformations. 2 more questions. How long is the whole exam? I think you have a hint here. Should I choose 1? Should I choose 3? So there are more answers, more people suggesting 1. Remember how long speaking was? I think that was the hint. So well done, Alex. No problem. It's a bit longer. It's almost 4 hours. And last question. How many parts are there in the reading section? In a way, many people are right. Okay, I'm going to click on, let me see, I think 4 got more suggestions, 4 and 3. Yeah, I'm going to say 4 because most people said 4. And remember that reading comes with use of English, but some is for reading, some tasks are for use of English. So just 3 are for reading. We're going to see exactly which ones and how they are marked in a bit. Okay, let's see our certificate in FCE. This is it. I think we can do better, okay, at the end of the session. No worries. No worries. I mean, some information in the quiz is quite technical, but it does help you know and just feel more relaxed about the exam and focus better if you know its structure. Okay, never mind. Okay, now I'm going to share my PowerPoint again, and let's see. What's next? Okay, now let's get to work. And again, in some bits, I'll ask you to write in the chat box, okay? So here, there's quite a lot of information, so I chose to simplify it a bit. So for reading and news, they come together, but they are marked separately. So there are 7 tasks in total, like you said, but 3, the red ones, are for reading. No, the red ones are for use of English, and the green ones are for reading, which means which means the quiz was wrong. And we had 70 points out of 100. Thank you. Okay, so you can find all this information on the Cambridge website, for example, because they have a booklet for students. So you can see their frequently asked questions, what to expect, the exam structure, and even practice tests. But anyway, I selected quite a bit. So types of tasks, there are many gap fill, but they're quite different. So for example, in the first task, you do have options to choose from. So you fill in the gaps, but you're given options. In the second task, you're not given anything, but very often they are short words, as in prepositions, conjunctions, so obvious words. In the third part, in the third task, you have word transformations, where you have, for example, the noun, but you might need to add a prefix, a suffix, turn it into a verb or an adjective. You see what you need there. Okay, and then in part 4, which is quite important, and I think many students find it quite challenging, is where you have sentence transformations. But I'll show you a place which can help you become much better at this. Then you have to read a long text and you have to choose the correct answer. You have a multiple choice task for number 5. And then you do have, in task 6, you have paragraphs with some missing sentences. And you have to choose from multiple options the right sentences to integrate in the text. And then multiple choice again. Which text has the information? Which some of you who've taken the preliminary exam might be slightly familiar with, or with this type of task anyway. Okay, let's take a look at this bit before it's too scary. So again, you can find this online. Which, how is it marked? What do you have to do to pass the reading and use part? So, for example, the final mark of the exam is an average of all the papers, but still it's much easier if you get a good pass mark for all the parts, all the papers separately. But for example, even if reading and using the English are done together, and you could say, oh, it's 70 points together, they are marked separately. So as you can see, 1, 5, 6, 7 are reading, and the 5 and 6 carry 2 marks each, which means you get 2 points for a correct answer, or you don't get 2 points if your answer is incorrect, which makes it important to focus in those parts so you don't lose points too easily, or because you didn't pay attention or you didn't check. Okay, the good news is that, for example, if maximum score is 42, you need minimum 24 points to pass, to get a B2 certificate. Now, if you have 37 points in reading, it means, so your answers is beyond B2. It's better. You've performed better than B2. So you'll have, if all your parts are above B2, it will state that you got a C1 level, you've got C1 level competence. It's not a C1 certificate. It's still a B2 certificate, but it's with distinction, and it means that you are above the level. You're better than this. Okay, now what happens if you get insufficient points is that, so for example, if you get below 24, you get a B1 certificate, which is a paper stating that even if you took the B2 exam, your level is B2. And if someone writes nothing, then they don't get anything. If you don't get any points, if you get below 16 points, you don't get anything, which is, I don't want to say the word fail, but it is a fail. But I don't think it's your case anyway. So, and we've never had a student, a Twinkle Star or Cambridge Star in Botoshan failing an exam with such a low score. We don't know what that's like. Okay, in the use of English part, which are tasks 2, 3, and 4, maximum score is 28 to pass, you need 18. So you need 18 correct answers. And again, there is one part, the one with sentence transformations, where each correct answer carries 2 points. So it's quite important. However, if half of your answer is correct, you still get 1 point out of 2. So what's important, and I think what's always important in Cambridge exams, is to know that if your answer is incorrect, you don't lose points, you just don't get them. So it's always better to write something to guess. So always write something, even if you're not sure. It might be the right answer. And if it's not the right answer, nothing happens. So always write something. Okay, now let's see. Like I was saying, in the reading and use, you have some word transformations to do. You need prefixes, suffixes. So how about in the chat box, you write what's this? In the table on my screen, these are verbs like agree, educate, eliminate. I'd like you to turn them into nouns. The suffixes below. Let's see, please write in the chat. As many as you can. Don't worry if someone else wrote the word before you. It's not a competition, so it's about each of you practicing. Very good. Very good. 1 more minute. Wow, Alex, that was really fast. Well done. So you can write one at a time, all of them in one place. Punishment. Is there any word that's confusing, that you're not sure of its meaning, maybe, or you'd like to check with someone in the chat? You can write the word with a question mark. Okay. Now you're doing great with word transformation. Perfect. Okay. And this is one of the moments when I'd like to hear your voices, but it's not going to work because we have different internet speeds. So it's going to be a mess. Excellent. So well done. Yeah, this is what you have to do. But when you have the task where you have to adapt the word, to transform it, it's important. You don't always have to turn a verb into a noun. It might have to be an adjective. It might have to be the opposite. So it's very important that you try to understand the context first. Okay, well, excellent. Okay. In the next bit, let's try this. In the next part, I would like you to write on the screen. And how do you do that? You probably know, but you have a pencil or an annotate button. And what I would like you to do, not this, but don't worry. What I'd like you to do is start from the top left corner and find your way out of the maze just by connecting words which take the prefix in. For example, appropriate, something that's all right to do, that's suitable. The opposite is inappropriate. Can you find the next ones? Don't worry if there are many lines, different colors. Just, You can choose your own color. Very fast. Okay. I'm just gonna give a few more moments to people who maybe need a bit more time, and don't be bothered if you can't use the annotate button or something. Although if you need help, unmute yourself and maybe we can guide you. It's a pretty clear line. So appropriate would be inappropriate, incorrect, audible, inaudible. Then I can't see it, but how about we check? You can write in the chat if you need more time. Or shall I show you the answers? You're very good. You're very good at this. Okay, so now this is it's got a slightly different size, this picture, but it's got the answer. So the correct answers are in red, and yes, you were right. But now, let's see, I'm going to pick a few more words from this. Can you write the opposite, which is obviously not with in? Can you write the opposite in the chat, please? If you want, you can write it on the screen. I'm not bothered. It's fine. So, certain. So, I'm certain, I'm sure. What's the opposite of certain? Okay. I sometimes lose the chat and I can't see everything. Don't worry. Okay. Relevant. What's the opposite of relevant? Perfect. The opposite of perfect would be very good. Very good. Predictable. So when something is predictable, you know what is going to happen. Okay. I want to say regular, but then I remember you started when you were movers or something talking about irregular verbs, so you know this one. Possible. What's the opposite of possible? Yeah. Mature. And always, it's fine. So you can always check yourselves online. Is the spelling with an M? Is it with double M? Check on your own. So you might not always have a teacher to help you, but well done for this task. So it's true that when you have the word transformations, you might have to think like that. Okay, do I need an adverb? What's the adverb of conventional? This is the adjective, but what's the adverb form? What's the opposite of the adjective? What's the opposite of the adverb form? What's the noun? What's the verb, if possible, and so on. So you might have to be quite flexible. So adverb, very often, it might mean that you need to add what to the adjective? Yep. Thank you, Edward. Thank you, Iliana. Thank you, Anna. Yeah, there's a delay. Thank you. I do get to see them in the end. Okay. Now, I'm going to clear the board. And let's check the next bit. And again, I'd like you to keep using the chat, okay? So, some people call them word transformations, some people call them sentence transformations, but they're actually sentence transformations. And like I was saying, you get 2 points for each. Now, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Excellent. So I don't have to move. No, I don't have to move the chat. Okay, here I chose only 6 sentences. And there's a website, the link is at the bottom, but I can send it to you anyway. There are 20 sets of sentence transformations. There are hundreds of activities like this online. So and you get feedback instantly if you want to check them to improve this bit, which again, I mean, in the exam, you have 6 sentence transformations and that task carries 12 marks. So it's an important one. So take a look and give it a try. Of course, I'll show you the correct answers at the end. And I'm not going to tell you off if your answer is incorrect. As many as you can, and don't worry, you can work on your own after it. Here, you can write between 2 and 5 words. Alex, you're an FCE star. But don't worry, everybody, you can write one at a time. So basically in this part, you can write between 2 and 5 words. Like I said, answers are split in half. So if half of your answer is correct, you still get 1 point. But it's important that you check the tense of the verb. You use the word in brackets exactly as it is this time. You can't change it. Pay attention to word order. So, because sometimes it's tricky. And basically just make sure that you understand the global meaning, the meaning of the first sentence, because this helps you make sure the second one will mean the same thing. Okay. I'm just going to give you another minute. Again, you can write in the chat if you need more time or if you would like to check the answers. Well done. Well done, everybody. Is it okay if I show you the answers, or some of you would like more time? You can just type more time, and I'll take that into account. Very good. Okay. Yeah, so we've got suggestions. Very nice. From all the sentences. Maybe some of you didn't get to do them all, but like I said, you can see the link and I can send you the slides if you want to. Okay. Let me show you the answers. So I am not aware of each. Did we have it in the chat? Yep. You can say I am not aware, I am unaware. It's the same thing. So for example, in this case, if you say, I am not aware, but you forget to write of each, then you get 1 point. You had thought of any new ideas because you needed to use of, so you think of something. Whose fault is it? This is like a fixed structure, so you need it. So whose fault is it? Everyone says that there will be another. Prevented us from, can you give me a synonym from prevented? So his awful teaching technique. I don't like this sentence. So his awful teaching technique prevented us from passing the exam. Can you give me a synonym for prevented? Very good. Kept us, stopped us. Yeah. Okay, phrasal verbs seem difficult to me to get the grasp of. To get the grasp of something, could you give me a synonym for this? Yep. Excellent. You're amazing. Thank you. I'm going to clear the board. Okay, now we've got loads of parts to go through, so let's move on. Well done. So the website is a Spanish one. It's called Intercambio Idiomas Online. Why? Because the B2 exam is super popular in Spain and people struggle a lot with learning English. In my experience, you don't have the same struggles, which is pretty cool. But they do have a lot of practice resources, websites, and so on. Okay. And like I said, there are 20 sets with 15 sentences each or something. There's a lot of content online for students preparing for the B2, apart from the course books and materials you already use with your teachers. Okay, writing. The fun part, isn't it? If you love writing, please write yes in the chat box. Oh, Robert, I'm gonna tell your teacher that. It's cool. It's cool. I'm not saying writing is bad at all, and I'm glad you might like it. You might not. It depends. It's actually a pretty necessary skill, and as adults you'll see, or as students you'll see, you will practice writing a lot because you have to write essays, you keep in touch via email with people, you have to adapt the register you use when you email a friend or when you email a university lecturer, and so on. So what's important here is that you have to write 2 texts in 1 hour and 20 minutes, so in 80 minutes. And the first text is always an essay. So you should be familiar with the essay structure and things like that. And in the second part, you can choose, but you have to choose. So you need to choose a second text. It is, they say it's not compulsory, but choosing is actually compulsory. So you can choose to write an I think there was a brief power cut and my laptop doesn't have a battery. Sorry. I know you didn't miss much. Okay, so we were talking about writing and about how you have to choose a text in the second part. But it's a good idea, even if, so some students choose to work on their email writing skills or report writing or article writing. However, in the exam, you might find it that you might like another topic better. Maybe your vocabulary is better in that area. So it's a good idea to get used to the structure of all types of text necessary for the exam. So you can choose freely the one you like best, the one that goes well for you. For example, in the past, when I did my exam, so I always thought I'd write an email because it would be easier, but actually writing a report was easier. So, and I needed to save time, not to come up with the coolest article ever. So it's good to be familiar with the structures. And it's important not to spend too much time on writing a perfect essay and not having enough time to write an okay I don't know, email, review, you name it. Okay, now question for you in the chat. How is writing marked? What do you lose points for? So what kind of mistakes or what's important to do right? Or what problems are being checked by examiners when they mark your writing? What do you think? If you know, you can write what you know. If you don't know, you can guess. Yeah. Yeah, Bogdan, I think in Cambridge now they treat letters and emails kind of in a similar way because emails are electronic letters. So it's basically the same type of text. Okay, so what do we have? Grammar, yes. Contractions, good question, Anna. So the first question you have to ask yourself is the text formal? So you write it to someone you're not close to, like an essay. You don't write essays for friends, do you? Or is it informal and it's for someone you know quite well? Because if you're writing to a friend, or if you're writing an article for I don't know, a magazine for teenagers, for example, then you can be slightly informal, not too informal, but slightly, which means you can use contractions. But contractions show that you write similarly to the way you speak. So, and normally you do that when you write a text for someone you know really well. So contractions are allowed if it's an informal text or slightly informal. In essays, contractions aren't recommended. So very good points here. So you mentioned language. I would ask what's language, but you know what language is, and I'll show you in a bit what it refers to in the exam. And the structure and the linking words, the linkers, and let's see. So it's actually much easier, I think. I think marking or getting a good score in writing is much easier than you might think. Because for each text, you get 20 marks. As you can see here at the bottom, 40 possible marks for 2 texts. So if everything is perfect, you get 40 points. If you have 34, like 17 each, let's say, depends. You get, if you have at least 34 out of 40, you get a C1 scale, on the scale. But how do you get that? It's 20 points for each bit, for each marking criteria here. So 5 points for content. What does this refer to? For example, in the essay, you really need to answer the question and you need to use their suggestions. So do you answer the question? Is the question about health issues? Are you writing about food only or about where you went on holiday last year? Then there's a problem with the content. So it has to be on the topic you're given. It has to answer the questions you're given. And it also refers to the length of the text. What does it mean? Do you remember how long the text was supposed to be? I think not more than 190 words. So the thing is, you can write more or less, like let's say 10% more or 10% less, I mean below the limit, is not a problem. But if you write more, if you write 300 words, it means several things. One, it means you don't have time for the other task, but it also means that you've given them too much information. So part of the content is irrelevant. If it's too short, if the text is 100 words or 80, it means it's not about how long the text is, but to the examiner, I mean, examiners translate this as in, you haven't given me enough information. So the text is too short, insufficient. The text is too long, irrelevant information. However, thank you, Edward. Excellent answer. How do you know, how can you keep your word limit under control without spending 20 minutes out of 80 on counting the words, which I do not recommend? Yes, Bogdan, sometimes it does. That's why you have a limit. So, how do you know? What's your technique? You can write it in the chat. If any of you has a super cool technique of counting words, unless it's a superpower, which we cannot use, but if you have a very good technique, you can share it with us. If not, okay, I'm not very organized when it comes to writing, but let's say I've written, yeah, okay. Let's listen, take a look at the chat, because teacher Simona is writing some good stuff. And then you multiply, you see how many lines you have. So what's your average? On average, I write 10 words per line, which means I can have a text between 14 and 19 words, which basically means a page, but more or less. But do not count each and every word. So again, it's not important. Do not waste time on that. Waste time, I mean, use the time on finding better words. Maybe you find more B2 words, more complex synonyms, making sure you don't have a lot of spelling mistakes or grammar mistakes, or I don't know, use your time wisely. Do not waste it counting words. Okay, but that's on content. So 5 points if you answer the question. Communicative achievement. Is the register correct? Is the text easy to, it doesn't refer to how interesting the text is. You're not expected to be an expert on any of the topics there. So as long as you support your argument, no one is going to judge if your argument is correct or incorrect. But you do have to be politically correct, not be judgmental, not write that you, I don't know, talk about categories of people. You have to be nice and let's call it neutral, but not super right. So communicative achievement refers to this. Is your text clear? Is the right register? Is it easy to read? Even it's also connected to language a bit. Like, do you have too many mistakes and the reader struggles with understanding what you're saying there? Yeah, so that's communicative achievement. 5 points. Organization. Is it a letter, an email? Does it look like an email? Does it have dear something? Does it have an appropriate email introduction? Does it have a proper ending? Super important when it comes to organization is, do you have paragraphs? Is each paragraph written on one topic, one idea? You don't need 10 ideas in one paragraph, because then it's chaotic. So that's one thing. Paragraph, this is the introduction. This is paragraph 2 on the first argument, paragraph 3 on another argument. This is the conclusion, and it's clear. And another thing that's important is, like you said, linkers, using linking words like however, nonetheless. But I've seen students who are trained to write many linkers, as in they started each sentence with a linking word. I don't recommend that, because it doesn't show good control of the language. So it's okay to use a few when it's necessary. You show them that you can use the linking words to connect ideas and to get a nicer flow, a more logical flow within the paragraph. But you don't need too many. Yeah, cool. And then comes language. 5 points for language. And in this case, language refers to vocabulary. So you don't need to write in a very pretentious way, but you should show that you've been studying for the B2 level. So you need some more precise words, let's call them. B2 words from the list, from the course book. And also grammar. So basically, unlike, I don't know, a standard test at school, grammar gets 2.5 points out of 20. It's not essential. And again, to pass the B2 writing paper, you need 24 points out of 40. And like I said, I think it's quite easy to get a good score, especially for, I mean, I've seen some of your writing bits in some cases when I worked with Twinkle Star students, and I think it should be fine. But some tips. Let's take a look at the tips. At the tips, the thing is, even if you know this, my question, did you know this? Did you know the thing about content and communicative achievement and organization? Do you know how writing is marked? Okay, so if you have any tips on how to make sure you write a good text in your exam, or how you manage your time, how you manage you can write them in the chat box. In the meantime, I'll share my ideas. I mean, the things I've tested with other students, the ones I tried when I had to do a writing exam. The first thing is practice. Because if you don't practice, you'll not be able to stick within the time limit. It will take you longer. So practice with a timer, even if officially you have 40 minutes for a text, but that also means checking it, proofreading it. Maybe you realize you forgot to write something, so you might tweak it a bit. So practice writing. You can try power writing, as in you only allow yourself 10 minutes for a writing task. See what you get out of it, which means that if you write an essay, a short-ish essay in 10-15 minutes, you're going to write a much better one in 30 minutes. So that's one thing. Practice with a timer. Don't take too long. Don't aim for a perfect text. Just aim for the best text you can write at that point. So there's practice. There's another thing that's not on the slide, which is write a plan. It's always good to write a plan. Even it will take you 2 minutes in the exam, and then you know this is the introduction, this is the idea, this is the second paragraph about, this is the third, what is this about, and then it keeps you focused. Because if you don't have a plan, you might start writing, and sometimes the limits of our vocabulary takes us to another direction, and then you say, oh, now I wasn't supposed to write about this. I don't have time for this. How do I get back to the initial thread, to the initial topic? So that's what I'm talking about when it comes to content. That's how you digress. You accidentally write about something that's not necessarily relevant for your essay or any other type of text. So plan. If you have, sometimes when you see the task, your brain does a thing. It might not, it might. For example, when you see the topic and you see it's health, you might have all these ideas coming to your mind, like all these, oh, I remember these words from my B2 classes with my teacher. Write 5 of them down and integrate them in the text later on. But if the good words, like the B2 or the perfect words don't come to you, don't panic about it. Again, it's important that maybe you can replace some simple words with more complex ones, more academic ones. When you check your text, it's a good idea to leave time to check your text. Yeah, so planning is super useful. Even if if you might not do it, you might not like it, I recommend giving it a try. Okay, a good website where you have text samples and tips and short activities is this one, Learn English Teens. And you can choose which skill you're interested in, as in this case, writing, B2 writing, and you find lessons, one lesson for each type of text. It might be useful. I know that you also have samples at the end of your complete first course book. Those are useful too, but if you want to see another model, also what you'll discover is that they're not spectacular. They're regular texts and written by other students. So it will help you feel confident about your writing. The next tip is this website from Cambridge, Write and Improve, which is, you might know about it or your teacher might have told you about it. You have Cambridge tasks, and there's a platform /AI marking your writing, checking it. It's not perfect, it's AI, so it might not give you proper feedback on everything, but it's nice because you get feedback on your spelling, grammar, possibly sentence structure. And sometimes it's funny that it shows you the level of your text. As in, you might work really hard to write a text, and then the platform tells you, well done, your level is A2, which can be quite frustrating. Check if you can make it better. And also remember, it's just a platform, so it's not perfect, but it's nice. It's nice to try it, to practice it. And I threw the picture with these objects in the corner of the slide, not because I'm old-fashioned, but because reading, whatever you enjoy reading without a dictionary, helps you with your vocabulary, with your fluency when speaking, with writing better. So I'd recommend reading. You don't have to read. I mean, it could be fantasy, it could be science, it could be anything, any genre you like. But it's super, super useful. So give it a try. Read 2 short books. See if you notice the impact. If you don't notice the impact, I'll give you your money back. No, I won't. Next. Okay, just a second to check. Let's move on to listening. Do you have any questions about writing? We'll leave them for the Q&A, okay? Listening. Again, quite a lot of information, but basically you have 4 tasks. One with 8 questions based on 8 conversations, one with a gap fill, another one with matching the speaker with the idea or the content of what they said, and another one multiple choice, which is similar to number 1, but what's different is that it's just one conversation. It doesn't stop after question 1. So in the first task, you know what to listen for, and you know which question to look at. In the last part, you have to pay attention to the flow. So if you've heard the answer for question 1, you should move on to question number 2. Yeah, so that's what it looks like. Let's see. You can get 30 points for listening, and to pass, you shouldn't get less than 18, which again seems quite reasonable. If you've done B2 tests before, I think you know it's not difficult to get over 18 points. If you get below 18, you get a B1 certificate. If you get below 12, you don't get any certificate. Yeah. Any questions on this? Okay. Now it's your turn to share tips. So here's a bit from part 1, listening. So as you can see, you hear an art teacher for question 1. You hear a boy talking to a friend in question 2. And then it's the second task with the gap fill. let's take a look at the first one. Any tips? Okay. See if they work for you. If you keep writing your tips. I'm sorry I'm talking over you. Underlining keywords helps you focus. Yep. Any other tips? Yeah. It's important to use the time before the listening task to really use that time wisely, to read the questions, to underline the keywords. If it doesn't help for some people, for example, it's just useful paraphrasing in mentally, quietly. Yeah. Very good one. What if, so you can listen twice, which is a nice advantage. There's the IELTS exam where you only listen once and it's slightly more challenging. Okay, so you listen to the recording once, you're not sure of the right answer. You listen to the recording twice, you're still not sure of the right answer. What options have you got? Do you keep thinking about the question you didn't get? The one you didn't understand? Yes, Sorana, you're right. You move on. Because if you don't, you're going to miss more questions. So the thing is with listening is you have to keep up with it. And if you see you didn't manage, do not panic. Just carry on. It's okay. It's just one question. I don't know. I'm gonna guess. Again, guess, circle something, which, I mean, randomly. It's better than not choosing any answer. But yeah, move on. Don't think about it. Don't stress about what you missed, because when you do that, you miss more information from the exam, and it's not useful. Yep. Yeah. And it's, even if you're super confident with listening, it's still a good idea to really listen twice. I know some students who are really good at listening. They say, oh, I don't want to listen twice. But always in the exam, remember, it's the real exam, and you're not going to do it twice. It's not a mock exam. So listen carefully and stay focused. And like I said, do not panic. Yeah, you have a second chance. And you have a third chance when you guess. It's like a third chance. Okay, so this is important because there's a lot of content, a lot of text, for example, in part 1. It's important that you read and underline and try to understand the options you have. Are you going to hear the exact same words in the recording? Nope. I mean, in some cases, yeah, but it's not a rule. So in general, you're going to have to guess meaning. You'll have synonyms or people saying things in a different way. You'll have to listen to the intonation to find sometimes excitement or disappointment, or it might be very important. So you have, when you have questions about speaker's attitude. So yeah. Okay, and there was very nice, let me see in the chat. Look at the second part, chocolate maker. What advice would you give here? So Arabella said, look at the word you need. Can you do that in part 2? In this one in the gap fill bit? So before becoming a chocolate maker, Sam chose, should I stop here or continue reading? Do you know what kind of word you need here? Very good. You need a noun. Now, I stopped after the gap. I said before becoming a chocolate maker, Sam chose. Would it be a good idea to keep reading, because I might find another clue after the gap. So as his subject of study. So yeah, like you said, Anna, it is a noun, and it's a noun related to what? From which area? What could it be? Yeah, good point. Yes, Anna, it's about education, it's about school subjects probably. And like Edward said, don't stop at the gap very often. And it applies to the reading part too. So very often the information is after the gap too. So you need to see the whole context. So again, read before you listen. Try to make assumptions, to guess. What kind of word do you need? Is it a number? Is it a verb? Be prepared to change that if you realize you didn't guess correctly. Not a problem. But the more familiar you are with the text you're working with, the easier it is to get the right answers when you're listening. So yeah, these are a few tips. Thank you for your help. Super cool. Okay, now we don't have time to do listening practice, but I'm going to show you a few websites where you can really practice listening if you think you need it. So it might be useful for some people. Okay, let's go back to our certificate. And for example, you have online tests or tasks, for example. There's the flowjo.co.uk website, which has really nice free resources for exam preparation. And I don't think you're using them in class, so because they're, I mean, you already have a lot of course books and test books and everything. But if you want to practice a bit more and get some feedback on whether your answer is right or wrong, you can use this one. So it's got various, this one is on reading, but it also has for listening to. So it does. Okay. So there's FlowJo, and there's examenglish.com. Pretty good too. Again, you can practice. Look, you have listening practice, and yeah. So give them a try. Check them out. You see, you have part 1. You have all the parts. So if you want to practice more, if you have time and energy. Okay. So these are two useful websites. Another one, which I didn't add on the slides. Are you playing on this app? Are you using Quiz Your English? Is there anyone in here today who's using Quiz Your English? This one is not super helpful for listening, but it is, I forgot about it. It's really good for use of English. And even for writing, for grammar, for writing complex sentences. So, and it's fun, you get to play with other students. It's like a challenge, you get points, it's for free. So you find it on Google Play, or if you have an iPhone, App Store. Yeah? Okay, now we have 15 minutes left. And I really hope we're going to do some speaking. Just to make sure everybody is still here. Is everybody still here? Can you write a yes in the chat box if I didn't bore you too much? Okay, just a second. I need a new shirt. Yeah, you're here. In a moment. I love boring students, but normally younger students, not FCE students. Okay. Okay. Speaking. speaking. Okay. I'll move quickly, right? Okay, speaking, like you said, 14 minutes. You might be in a trio if you're the last people scheduled for speaking, and you're not, I mean, all the candidates are not in an even number, but it's fine. It's the same, you have the same type of tasks. So in the first part, the examiner asks each of the candidates questions. It's like an interview. It's easier, they're easier questions, so you can relax a bit. Pay attention, the examiner can't reply to anything in Romanian, and you might actually lose points if you use Romanian. And they can't tell you a lot. They can't help you with words you can't find, you can't remember. They can only say, okay, thank you, and smile. So even if you'd say, oh, but my answer was amazing, and you see the examiner is not really excited, is just because Cambridge exams are not like this. So in speaking, all you get is, okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so, but younger kids get very good, which is nice, but older students don't get any praising. Okay, so in the first part, you get some questions, personal, yeah, about your options, your preferences, your habits. Then you have, and so if any of you took, and some of you did, took the B1 exam, the PET, then there you had to describe a picture for a minute. In the B2 exam, you have to compare two photos in the same amount of time. So you don't have to describe pictures in detail because you don't have time. You can just go like, talk about each picture, mention what each picture shows, and then when you compare, what does it mean? You talk about what they have in common and what's different. And that's 1 minute, so it's kind of enough. Again, as a universal tip, especially for speaking, is you can practice on your own. So you can find pictures for the exam online. Just type in B2 speaking pictures. And you can use your phone to time yourself. It's also useful before the exam. When you do the course, the intensive preparation course, the 12-hour one, that's really useful because you do speaking with teachers who are also trained examiners. They're not the real examiners because they're not allowed to examine you, but they can help you practice. And also you get used to answering questions in a way artificially, but well. So you're less nervous on exam day. Another piece of advice that might help you is don't talk about what you don't know, because the examiner doesn't know what you don't know. So if you don't know a word, if it doesn't come to you, just say it differently. It's okay. I mean, for the examiners, the first time they meet you, and they want to know how good your spoken English is. That's it. They don't want to hear really accurate opinions on how to solve world problems. So they just want to hear you speaking in English and proving that you understand. So don't say, oh, I don't know this word, and then spend many seconds looking for it. It's not going to come when you're nervous. It will come after you finish the exam. So if you realize you can't remember the word, the phrase, or what you wanted to say, just say it in a different way or continue with another idea. Okay. Then you have a conversation based on, the spidergram. You have a question in the middle, and then you have some options to discuss. Very often it's with advantages and disadvantages. It's very important that you don't try to take over or that you're not too quiet. It's important to think of the conversations here as a tennis match or a table tennis match, in which you say something, then you ask your partner what they think about it or how they feel about it, or if they agree, or so, and then your partner says something and they ask you something else. So it should be, it's the interaction that matters, and you'll see you get points for interaction. Okay, and in the last bit, it's again an interview part, but for example, there are two candidates. The examiner might ask, how do you solve the lockdown problem we have these days? Which might seem like an abstract question, and you do get more abstract questions for the B2 because it's academic. They're not going to ask you about your favorite food. Anyway, so you can answer, and it's always important to support your arguments to say why you think something is like this and not like this. It's recommended to be not to have very strong opinions if they might offend someone else. And at the same time, your partner who's not answering should be listening to you answering, because the examiner will then ask, so what do you think? Do you agree? And if you haven't been listening to your partner, it's hard to prove you agree or you disagree with them. So pay attention to what your partner is saying and try to link your answer to what they've said to show that you've been listening. Okay? Good. Just one more thing. How is speaking assessed? Quickly. So there are two people in the room, both examiners. One is the interlocutor, let's say the person who asks you the questions, and the interlocutor will only give you 1 mark, which is the global achievement. Like in general, this person would deserve a 5. I mean, they don't think in general, they have some written criteria. So interlocutor asks questions and gives you 1 mark. The person at the back will give you 5 points maximum for grammar and vocabulary, discourse management, like do you talk for too long or too little? Okay. Pronunciation, as in, is your English clear enough? Can they understand you? There's no pressure of sounding native. The only pressure is sounding clear enough so people can communicate with you. And then there's interactive communication. Like, how do you understand the questions? Do you know how to ask someone to repeat the question if you didn't get it? Do you allow your partner to speak? Do you create opportunities for your partner to speak? Because communication is also about listening. So these are the kind of, you get 5 marks for each. Now, it's a bit interesting in a way, because look, the mark given by the interlocutor is multiplied by 4. Yeah. And the marks given by the assessor are multiplied by 2. So these would be by 2. So let's say if you get 4 points in all of them, you would have maths 32. And here is by 4. So if the interlocutor gives you a good mark, your global achievement might help you get more points. So this is how you get maximum 60 points. And you need 36 to pass. I'm not worried about that, unless you are. Yeah? Okay, but now, because we were talking about talking to others, and I'm sorry I spoke too much. I would have liked to hear you too, but I was worried about the number of participants, and it's hard on Zoom, you might have noticed. Okay, so I'm going to show you a question now. And I'm going to give you 4 minutes maybe, and ask you to talk about this question. It's not an FCE exam question, but I made it look like one. So here are some ideas teenagers use to relax during lockdown. Talk to each other about the most enjoyable ways one can unwind while staying at home. And you have several options. Now, in a real exam, you'd get a sheet of paper with the questions, so you can discuss each point. What I would like from you is to take a screenshot or a picture with your mobile, so you have at least one person has a picture of the options, because I'm going to send you to discuss about this in groups in the breakout rooms. And I'm going to check, I'm going to try and pop by your breakout rooms, okay? Can you take a photo or a screenshot, or if you have snipping tool, you can crop, take a picture. Okay. I'm going to pause share. And before we say goodbye, okay. Breakout rooms. It will be a bit random, so I'm sorry. Let's see. 21. I'm going to send 2-3 people. Just in case there isn't anyone active in your room, just come out and I'll send you to a room where there are people. Okay? You can say hi, you can say where you're from. You can switch your mix on so that you can talk to each other. You can do that in the breakout rooms. Now click on join. Simona, you don't have to join. Oh. everybody. Okay, so I didn't get to enter all the rooms. I'll mute you for a moment just to see what it's like. So I only entered 2 rooms, and it was really nice listening to you speaking. I heard something interesting about reading and not liking reading, and the lockdown not being a long enough period to change that, which is fine. I think you should do what you like, and you can find your own relaxing activities probably. Anyway, we don't have time for the Q&A. We have to go. But I'm going to save the chat. So if you have any questions, you can write them now. And I'm going to send all of you an email with the answers, I suppose, is the best way of doing it. So thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for paying attention and for your amazing answers. It was really nice working with you, and I'm sorry again about keeping you all without microphones.
It's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good luck. Maybe see you again.
Maybe.
Maybe. And by the way, every Tuesday there's a speaking club at 1 p.m. If you want to practice speaking, you can join. You can find it on the Twinklestar Facebook page in the events section, and you could go and take over and practice speaking with teacher Mary.
Okay.
It's for free. It's extra.
Okay.
1 p.m. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
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 Bye. See ya.
Have a good one. Anna, if you don't mind, can you stay a bit longer?
Yeah, it's okay.
It's your option. It's when you practice, see how you feel. So if you feel you have time to write a draft and copy it, okay. If it depends on your writing style, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a fast writer and you feel like, okay, the draft is this one, I can write, cross out, do anything, whatever, and then you can copy the neater version, that's fine. But see how it works. Test it if you have time in 40 minutes to do everything, for example. Test it. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I will write with a pencil.
I think it's a pen for FCE. I have to check. That's a very good one. No, they don't use pencils anymore after YLE, I think. So anyway, you don't have to write the essay in pencil now.
Okay, thanks.
But I'm gonna check Sebi, all right? And it says on the exam paper. Need to check that. But I think the essay and stuff can be written in pen for higher levels like B2. Okay?
Okay, so we won't receive any pencils or something like that.
At the exam, you do receive writing tools. So you will receive a blue ink pen. You will receive, I don't know, water, stuff like that. You don't need colored pencils anymore, but you do receive writing tools on the day of the exam. All you need is your ID.
Okay, because I don't remember from FC. I know that in starters, movers, flyers, there were pencils and yeah, and I know that they gave us.
It's the same regardless of the exam. You just don't get colored pencils because you don't need them anymore. But you do get writing tools, so you don't need to bring anything with you.
Okay.
Like anything pencil case, I mean, but bring your ID and your, possibly you don't need even your confirmation of entry, but your teacher might give it to you. So it's good to have.
Thanks.
Thank you, Sebi. Good luck. Have a good day.
You too.
N-a trebuit să dau afară pe nimeni.
Stop recording.